Okay, in this video we'll add a new variety when the player is at a far distance from the dragon. For this, we'll need to move the tag cooldown, which is in the far when the distance is at a far branch, into the fly attack. We'll then need to add a new decorator. So this is a custom decorator which is not present amongst any of the predefined ones by Unreal. So we need to create a new decorator for this. In order to create a new decorator, we need to select the new decorator. Let's create a new folder called decorator and then add this particular decorator to the folder. Let's make it choose random number. This basically churns out a random number. So we'll add an override function of perform condition check AI. We'll then need to add two variables. One is a random number and one is a max value. So that should be a public variable. So random number. This should be a blackboard key selector. A blackboard key selector is something which is present in the blackboard value, and then a max value. This should be a normal integer. So let's drag and drop the max value and select random integer. This chooses a random integer which is less than or equal to the max value, and then we'll assign this return value to the blackboard set blackboard value as int. So perform condition check AI runs this particular function, and then it returns it sets a blackboard key value. So we'll then need to add the newly created decorator into our branch. So let's rename this. That's the random number decorator. So it just gives you a random number, which is a blackboard key value. So now we need to create a new blackboard which is of int type, and we'll need to name it as random number. So this will be the random number, which is the blackboard key, and then we'll need to give a maximum value. So we'll need to choose between two attacks. So let's just select a maximum value of 2. So we'll then need to add a sequence. So let's add a decorator which is a blackboard, and then we'll choose the random number. If the random number is not equal to 0, then we'll run the fly attack, and then we'll wait for a few seconds. We'll need to add another sequence to check if the blackboard value random number is equal to 0. That means we need to run this particular sequence. We'll then need to add a new task, which is basically another variety of attack. Let's name it BT task locate player. Let's override the receive execute AI, and we'll get the player pawn. We'll get the actor location, which basically gets the player's location, and then we have to get a point in the navigable radius, which means it just gets a random point in that particular navigable radius. Let's add a radius value which is float, and then we'll assign that radius value to this navigable radius. This basically gives you a particular point within the radius of the actor location. Now let's drag and drop the owner controller and cast it to Dragon AI controller. We'll then need to set a blackboard value. So for that we need to get blackboard value and then set value as vector. We'll then need to drag the random location to the vector value and then a new key value called the player location. So this key value we need to give a default value of player location, which should be similar to the one specified in the blackboard. We'll then finish execute with success. So this sets a value of a vector player location, which is a blackboard value. Let's go back to our behavior tree and then go to our blackboard. We'll just drag and drop the newly created task, which is BT task locate player, and then we'll give a radius of 100 and then name the node as locate player. So we need to add a new blackboard key, which is a vector value, and this player location name should be similar to the one given in that particular task. So this sets the player location and we just have to move to the player location. We'll then go back to our level and then create we'll choose a new volume called navmesh bounds volume. This basically is used to move the AI in a world. So as we are using move to player location, we need a navmesh in the level. We don't have one currently, so we are creating a new navmesh bounds. Let's just cover the whole area. If you don't see the navmesh, you have to press the key P in order to view them in the world. So the dragon can move around in the world with this navmesh bound. Let's run the game and see if the behavior works. So it will choose either one. For now it's choosing the fly attack. As you can see, the animation is not running now when the dragon runs towards the player. Let's check what the issue is. So if we go to dragon underscore anim bp and then we go to our new state machine idle walk run, we see that the animation speed and direction is not set here. This is basically responsible for if the speed increases, the animation of the particular dragon runs in that direction. I mean the animation runs, so that's not happening right now. So now we need to promote these two variables to speed and direction respectively. Let's compile, save this. We'll then go back to our event graph of dragon underscore anim bp and we need to set the speed value here. Currently it's not being set. So let's add a new sequence in the anim notify spawn breath. And then we'll cast it to a dragon bp underscore bp. We'll then need to get the velocity of the dragon and get its forward vector, get actor forward vector. Let's do a dot product of both of these, which basically gives you the speed. So we can just set the speed of this. So using the velocity and the direction in which the dragon is moving, we get the speed. We just set the speed here. Let's see if this works. So the flying animation is the random number chosen right now, and then the animation is still not working. So let's check what the issue might be. Looking at the animation graph, it looks like as the speed increases, the dragon starts running the animation, so that's fine. Let's add a debug point here. So let's do print string, printing the speed, and see if the speed changes. Looks like the debug is not being printed too, so that means this function is not being called. Oh, it looks like we are calling this in the anim notify dragon breath, but we need to be calling them in here, which is the event parameter update parameters. So let's break this pin, or let's delete the sequence of this, because dragon spawn breath is a notify anim notify event, and then we'll drag our nodes, our logic into the event update, event blueprint update animation. Let's compile, save this. So as you can see, now the debug is being printed. Let's see if and as you can see, as the dragon walks, you can see that the dragon walking animation is triggered. Let's delete the debug print. And we'll set the acceptable radius of move to player location to around 500 instead of 550 instead of 5, so that the dragon doesn't get too close to us. So let's get far from the dragon, so the dragon walks towards us and then launches the claw attack. So that's working as intended. So that's it for this video. Thank you.